Every English learner has experienced that one uncomfortable moment when your brain knows what you want to say, but your mouth just doesn't cooperate. You open your lips to speak, but suddenly you forget the right words, or they come out all mixed up. You know it's simple English. You've read it, you've written it, you've studied it. But when it's time to actually speak, your confidence disappears. It's like your tongue forgets everything at the exact moment you need it. That's exactly what happened to Ian, a young learner who wanted to speak English fluently. He studied hard. He memorized long vocabulary lists, grammar rules, tenses, and sentence structures. He watched movies with subtitles. But when someone said, "Hey Ian, how's it going?" he froze. His heart would start racing, and he'd mumble something like, "I am fine, thank you, and you?" That old textbook line that doesn't sound natural anymore. Ian knew something was missing. He didn't want to sound robotic. He wanted to sound real, confident, and natural, just like native speakers. But every time he tried, his mind would translate from Urdu to English and back again. It was slow, tiring, and frustrating. He thought fluent speakers use complex words and perfect grammar, but the truth was completely different. One day, his English teacher said something that changed everything. "Ian, you don't need more grammar. You need real sentences, the ones people actually use every day." That sentence hit him hard. He realized he had spent years studying book English, but never practiced life English. So the teacher gave him a simple challenge, a list of 70 everyday English sentences. She said, "If you master these 70 sentences, you'll be able to handle 90% of daily conversations easily." At first, Ian laughed. "Just 70 sentences? That sounded too simple." But his teacher smiled and said, "Fluency isn't about how many words you know. It's about how confidently you can use what you already know." That night, Ian looked at the list. It had short, natural sentences like, "What's going on? I'm on my way. Could you help me out? No worries. Take your time. Let's grab a coffee. I'll call you back." These weren't the kind of sentences he saw in textbooks. They were real, spoken English, the kind that friends, co-workers, and travelers use every single day. The next morning, Ian decided to test them. When he met his neighbor, instead of just nodding silently, he said, "Good morning. How's it going?" His neighbor smiled and replied, "Good, how about you?" That was the first time Ian had a natural English exchange without overthinking. It felt easy, smooth, and confident. He began practicing more. When he was late for his bus, he said to the driver, "Sorry, I'm running late." When he bought fruit, he said, "How much is this?" When he didn't understand something, instead of going quiet, he said, "Could you say that again, please?" Something magical started happening. The more he used these sentences, the less he had to think in Urdu. English started to come naturally, not as words, but as real-life communication. Ian realized that people weren't impressed by big words, they were impressed by confidence and clarity. In a few days, he could handle small talk easily. Someone would say, "Nice weather today," and he'd reply, "Yeah, finally some sunshine." If his friend invited him out, he'd say, "Sure, count me in." If he wanted to end a conversation politely, he'd say, "I'll catch up with you later." He began to feel like English wasn't a foreign language anymore. It was becoming part of his daily routine. That's when he truly understood the power of situational English. Ian's teacher explained, "When you use English in real situations, your brain stops translating and starts responding. That's the difference between learning and living a language." It didn't matter if his grammar was perfect or not. What mattered was that he was communicating, clearly, naturally, and confidently. Every small victory built his confidence. Every simple sentence made him stronger. And the best part? He was actually enjoying the process. For the first time, English didn't feel like a school subject. It felt like a skill he could use in everyday life. So, if you're like Ian, if you've studied English for years but still feel stuck when speaking, remember this. Fluency doesn't come from complexity. It comes from simplicity, practice, and repetition. The secret is to learn sentences that fit your real life, the kind you'd use at home, at work, with friends, or while traveling. Because once you start using English every day, it stops being a subject and becomes a habit. And when it becomes a habit, fluency follows naturally. In the next part, You'll see exactly how Ayan practiced these 70 must-know sentences in daily life, and how they completely transformed his confidence and fluency in just a few weeks. After receiving that list of 70 must-know English sentences, Ayan decided to do something different. He didn't want to just memorize them like vocabulary. He wanted to live them. So he made a plan. Every day he would choose 10 sentences and find real-life moments to use them. His goal wasn't perfection. His goal was practice. On the very first morning, he started with a smile. As he stepped outside, he saw his neighbor and said, "Good morning. How's it going?" The neighbor smiled and replied naturally, "I'm good, thanks." "And you?" That small moment gave Ayan a little spark of confidence. He thought, wow, that actually worked. During breakfast, instead of asking in Urdu, he tried English. He told his mom, "I'll have some tea, please. And could you pass the bread?" His mother laughed and said, "Now you're practicing even at home." But Ayan knew that speaking at home was the best place to start. It was safe, comfortable, and pressure-free. Later that day, when his friend called, he picked up the phone and said, "Hey, what's up?" His friend replied, "Nothing much, just bored." And Ayan continued, "Let's grab a coffee." For the first time, he realized he was speaking full English sentences without even thinking. He wasn't translating word by word anymore. It was flowing naturally. Every situation became his classroom. When he was late to class, he said to his teacher, "Sorry, I'm running late." When he didn't understand something, he asked, "Could you say that again, please?" When he liked an idea, he said, "That sounds great." And when something surprised him, he said, "You're kidding!" He noticed how these sentences were short but powerful. They made conversation smooth and natural. No one cared if his grammar was 100% correct. People just loved how confidently he was communicating. To make learning fun, Ayan started practicing with his mirror. Every morning, he'd look at his reflection and talk as if he were chatting with a friend. He'd say things like, "How was your day?" "I'm just chilling. Let's get started." Or, "I'm a bit tired today." He didn't realize it at first, but he was building muscle memory, training his tongue, his lips, and his brain to move together. That's what makes a person sound fluent. Not big grammar books, but practice through real speaking. One day, something amazing happened. Ayan was walking to the market when a foreign tourist stopped him and asked, "Excuse me, do you know where the bus station is?" A few weeks earlier, Ayan would have panicked. But this time he smiled and said, "Yes, just go straight and turn left. It's next to the park." The tourist thanked him and said, "Your English is really good." That one compliment filled Ayan with pride. He thought, "I didn't even translate in my head this time. It just came out naturally, like second nature." That's when he realized, speaking English fluently isn't about knowing everything. It's about being ready for the moment. His teacher had told him, "Practice in context. Don't just repeat words, live situations." So Ayan started dividing his day into small English zones. Morning routines, shopping, traveling, meeting friends, ordering food, talking on the phone. He created short practice moments for each. For example, shopping. "How much is this?" "Can I try it on?" "Do you have it in another color?" "Cafe. Could I get the menu, please?" "I'll take a cappuccino." "That's all, thank you." Travel. "Where can I buy a ticket?" "How long will it take?" "I'm looking for platform 3. Daily life. I'll be there in 5 minutes." "Don't worry. I got this. See you later." These small moments trained him to think faster and respond confidently. At night, he'd review what he practiced. He'd write short sentences and speak them aloud. He'd say, "Today I learned how to ask for help politely," or "I used English at the shop and it worked." This daily reflection built a powerful habit. Even when no one was around, he practiced shadowing, listening to short audios and repeating exactly as the speaker said it. He paid attention to tone, rhythm, and natural flow. Slowly, he began to sound more native-like. In just a few weeks, everyone noticed the change. His friends said, "Bro, your English sounds so natural now." His teacher smiled and said, "See? You stopped learning English. Now you're living it." Ayan realized that the secret wasn't in big grammar books or long lessons. The secret was in these small, real-life sentences, used again and again in real conversations. He understood that learning English is like learning to ride a bicycle. At first you need balance and practice. You fall, you make mistakes. But the more you try, the more natural it becomes. Soon you don't even think about it. You just ride. That's exactly how Ayan became fluent. Not by chasing perfection, but by practicing consistency. 10 sentences a day, spoken naturally, used in real life. And now he was ready for the next level, using these sentences in deeper, more meaningful conversations with confidence, clarity, and a smile. As Ayan's confidence grew, he realized something very powerful. He wasn't just learning English anymore. He was living it. Every moment of his day had become a chance to speak naturally, not perfectly. He no longer worried about making mistakes or forgetting grammar rules. His focus had shifted from, how do I say this correctly, to how do I express myself clearly? And that's where true fluency begins. Soon, Ayan's teacher gave him a new challenge. She said, now that you can use English comfortably, it's time to help others do the same. At first, Ayan was nervous. He thought, how can I teach others when I'm still learning myself? But his teacher smiled and replied, teaching is the best form of learning. So Ayan decided to share what worked for him. He created a notebook filled with simple, everyday English sentences, the kind that real people use in real life. He divided them into categories: greetings, shopping, traveling, studying, eating out, and small talk. For every situation, he added 10-15 natural English sentences that anyone could use immediately. For example, when meeting someone new, nice to meet you. Where are you from? What do you do? When someone is late, no worries, take your time. It happens. I was just waiting for you. When you don't understand, could you repeat that, please? Sorry, I didn't catch that. Can you say it more slowly? When someone helps you. That's very kind of you. I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot for your help. These sentences were short, simple, and powerful. They made conversations natural and real. No translation needed, no confusion, just smooth communication. Ayan began practicing these in different situations every day. At the store, he'd say, do you have this in a different size? Or how much does this cost? When eating out, he'd smile at the waiter and say, could I get the menu, please? Or, that's all for now, thank you. When he finished work for the day, he'd tell his colleague, let's call it a day. When a friend was sad, he'd say, cheer up, everything will be fine. And when he made a mistake, he simply said, my bad, and moved on confidently. He started to notice something special. The more he practiced, the less effort it took. These sentences became part of his natural speech. They weren't memorized anymore. They were automatic. English wasn't a school subject. It had become a habit, part of his thinking process. He also realized that native speakers don't speak fast because they know fancy words. They speak fast because they're using the same set of familiar, short sentences again and again. Everyday English is built on patterns, predictable structures that your brain can master with repetition. So Ayan encouraged his friends to do the same. He told them, start small. Pick 10 sentences today and use them wherever you can. At home, at work, at the shop, anywhere. The more you use them, the more natural you'll sound. Soon, his friends noticed the difference too. One of them said, I didn't realize speaking English could be this simple. Another said, I used those sentences at the cafe today and it worked perfectly. That's when Ayan decided to record short videos to help others around the world. He wanted everyone to experience the same confidence he had found. In his videos, he didn't teach grammar or long lessons. Instead, he shared real, useful English for real situations, the kind you can use immediately after watching. He'd begin his lessons with sentences like, let's get started. Here's what you can say when you're at the market. Or, try this next time you meet someone new. His friendly, simple approach inspired thousands of learners who were tired of boring textbooks and complicated rules. Ayan's philosophy was simple. Fluency doesn't come from studying English. It comes from using English. He believed that you don't have to be perfect to sound confident. You just need to sound real. And real English comes from real life, from small moments, casual conversations, and daily practice. He always reminded his students, even if you make mistakes, keep speaking. Every sentence you say is a step toward fluency. Within a few months, Ayan's students began sharing their success stories. Some could now order food confidently at restaurants. Others could introduce themselves at interviews. Many said, "I finally feel confident speaking English without fear." Ayan smiled every time he heard those words. He knew exactly how they felt, because he had been there too. And just like that, his journey came full circle. From a shy learner afraid to speak, Ayan became a confident communicator, and then a motivator for others. He proved that you don't need thousands of words to sound fluent. You just need the right ones, the ones that fit real life. So if you're listening to this and wondering how to start, remember Ayan's story. Start small. Choose 70 must-know sentences. Practice them every day. Use them in real conversations. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for connection. Because once you master these simple situational sentences, you'll stop studying English and start living it. That's the real secret of fluency. Not fancy grammar. Not long books. Just confidence built from everyday English. Speak naturally. Speak simply. Speak every day. That's how you become fluent, just like Ayan.